On June 1st, 1943, a tragic and controversial event unfolded in the skies over the Bay of Biscay, marking one of the most infamous incidents in aviation history during World War II. BOAC Flight 777, a civilian-operated Douglas DC-3 aircraft, was shot down by the German Luftwaffe, resulting in the deaths of all 17 passengers and crew on board. Among the victims was the renowned British actor Leslie Howard, whose untimely death shocked the world and sparked numerous theories about the true motives behind the attack. This event remains shrouded in mystery and speculation, with questions lingering about whether the aircraft was deliberately targeted due to the presence of high-profile passengers, or if it was simply a case of mistaken identity. The Douglas DC-3, a workhorse of civilian and military aviation during the 1930s and 1940s, was a reliable and widely used aircraft. Operated by British Overseas Airways Corporation, BOAC, Flight 707 was a scheduled passenger service from Lisbon, Portugal, to Bristol, England. Lisbon, as a neutral city during the war, was a hub for diplomatic activity, espionage, and refugee movements. The flight was a critical link for those traveling between neutral and Allied territories, and its passengers often included a mix of civilians, diplomats, and intelligence personnel. Leslie Howard, the most famous passenger on board, was a celebrated actor, director, and producer, best known for his role as Ashley Wilkes in the 1939 film Gone with the Wind. Beyond his Hollywood fame, Howard was also a staunch anti-Nazi propagandist, using his influence to support the British war effort. His presence on the flight has led to persistent speculation that the Germans targeted the aircraft to eliminate him, believing he was a spy or a significant figure in British propaganda. However, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to support this theory. The flight departed Lisbon at approximately 9:30 a.m. on June 1st, 1943. The crew, led by Captain Cyril James "Jack" Kelly, was experienced and well-versed in navigating the dangers of wartime air travel. The aircraft, registered as GAGBB, was unarmed and clearly marked as a civilian plane, adhering to international aviation protocols. Despite these precautions, the flight was not immune to the perils of war, as the Bay of Biscay was a heavily contested area patrolled by both Allied and Axis forces. At around 11:30 a.m., the aircraft was intercepted by a squadron of 8 German Junkers, Ju-88 fighters. The Ju-88 was a versatile and formidable aircraft, capable of serving as a bomber, fighter, and reconnaissance plane. The German pilots, operating under the command of the Luftwaffe's Fliegerführer Atlantic, were tasked with disrupting Allied shipping and air traffic in the region. Despite the civilian markings of the DC-3, the German fighters opened fire, striking the aircraft and causing it to crash into the sea. There were no survivors. The attack on BOAC Flight 777 raised immediate questions about the motives and legality of the Luftwaffe's actions. Under international law, civilian aircraft were supposed to be granted safe passage, especially when clearly marked and operating on scheduled routes. However, the fog of war often blurred these distinctions, and both sides were known to engage in questionable tactics. The Germans claimed that they believed the aircraft was a military target, possibly a transport plane or a reconnaissance aircraft, disguised as a civilian plane. This explanation, while plausible, has been met with skepticism by historians and researchers. One of the most enduring theories surrounding the downing of Flight 777 is that Leslie Howard was the primary target. Howard's high-profile status and his involvement in anti-Nazi propaganda made him a potential threat to the German war effort. Some believe that German intelligence had identified him as a key figure in British psychological operations and sought to eliminate him. Others speculate that the Germans mistakenly believed Winston Churchill was on board, as the British Prime Minister had been travelling in the region around the same time. However, there is no concrete evidence to support either of these claims, and they remain subjects of debate. Another theory suggests that the attack was part of a broader strategy to intimidate neutral countries and disrupt Allied communications. By targeting civilian aircraft, the Germans may have hoped to deter neutral nations from cooperating with the Allies, or to create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. The downing of Flight 777 was not an isolated incident. Several other civilian aircraft were attacked during the war, often with devastating consequences. These attacks were part of the brutal and indiscriminate nature of total war, where civilian and military targets were increasingly blurred. The aftermath of the attack was marked by grief and outrage. The loss of Leslie Howard was particularly felt in Britain, where he was regarded as a national hero and a symbol of resistance against Nazi tyranny. His death was widely reported in the press, and tributes poured in from around the world. The British government condemned the attack as a war crime, but little could be done to hold the perpetrators accountable during the ongoing conflict. In the years following the war, investigations into the incident continued, but many questions remained unanswered. The wreckage of the aircraft was never recovered, and the exact circumstances of the attack were never fully clarified. The lack of definitive evidence has allowed various theories to persist, each offering a different perspective on what may have happened that fateful day. The story of BOAC Flight 777 serves as a poignant reminder of the human cost of war and the vulnerability of civilian life in times of conflict. It also highlights the complexities and moral ambiguities of wartime decision-making, where the lines between right and wrong are often blurred. The downing of Flight 777 remains a tragic and controversial chapter in aviation history, one that continues to captivate the imagination of historians, researchers, and the public alike. In conclusion, the events of June 1, 1943, over the Bay of Biscay, represent a dark moment in the history of World War II. The loss of BOAC Flight 777 and its passengers, including Leslie Howard, underscores the indiscriminate nature of war and the profound impact it has on individuals and societies. While the exact motives behind the attack may never be known, the incident serves as a powerful reminder of the need to protect civilian lives and uphold the principles of humanity, even in the midst of conflict. The legacy of Flight 777 endures as a symbol of the sacrifices made during the war and the enduring quest for truth and justice in the face of tragedy.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.